this case study, we will determine the effect of diclofenac calcium, an active ingredient of a medicine called diclofenac, on the development rate and survivorship of the fly Lucilia sericata, feeding on the corpses of humans and animals. Diclofenac calcium is a foreign substance for L. sericata. Therefore, a hypothesis was made that this chemical compound would have negative effect on the fly's development, affecting its larvae mass, the length of the development cycle, as well as the mortality of individual instar. During the decomposition of organic matter, a specific microhabitat develops for different animal taxa as dead bodies can provide a suitable protection for the fauna. Favorable features of environment are present in such habitat, as well as high nutritious resources are constantly provided for invertebrate that colonizes corpses. Insects gathered from dead bodies may provide vital information, particularly when the body is in an advanced state of decomposition or is skeletonized. A correct analysis of entomological data provided by insect that colonizes corpse is enormous significance in establishing the time that has elapsed from death. The findings may provide valuable information in the case of an investigation when a potential cause of death of a human or animal was overdosing this medicine.
Next, we will talk about the materials and methodology of this experiment. The materials used are calcium diclofenac with masses of 25 mg, 50 mg, and 75 mg. This experiment was conducted using a population of Lucilia sericata species from the Calliphoridae family. Polyver served as the culture medium for the larvae. For a starter, a portion of polyver without the drug was exposed to the outdoor environment to attract flies to lay eggs. After the eggs were laid, the eggs were transferred to the laboratory in order to carry out the procedures under laboratory conditions. A portion of meat was mixed with an appropriate amount of calcium diclofenac, which were 25 mg, 50 mg, and 75 mg. Then the eggs were transferred onto the meat. Additionally, 23 grams of polyver sample was prepared without the mixing of the drug as a control sample. For the experiment, a total of 160 larvae were employed. Next, weightings of the larvae were conducted every 3 days, while their condition, including vitality and mobility, were monitored daily. The experiment continued until the third instar larvae began to pupate. The Lucilia sericata adults that the larvae produced confirmed the validity of the larval material. The experiment was performed at a temperature of 23.5 degrees Celsius and relative humidity of 54%. In this experiment, the data were represented using statistical analysis by describing a measure of center tendency and a measure of dispersion. The Shapiro-Wilk test was used to determine whether the data distribution was normal. Using Berlitz test, the data were examined for homogeneity of variance. As for the one-way ANOVA test, was used to compare several independent samples because the data had a normal distribution and equal variances. Lastly, for LSD Fisher tests were performed to compare two separate samples. The statistical significance level was set at p equals to 0.05.
Hi, I'm Nurul Alia Fadina binti Ashar. The findings in this study was based on the larvae body mass, larvae development rate, and larvae mortality. Based on larvae body mass, one-way ANOVA was used and the result showed there is significant statistical differences in larvae body mass between variants. Fisher's post-hoc LSD tests were used and there are significant statistical differences in larvae body mass between control and samples, whereas no significant statistical differences were found between 3 doses of drugs. Based on figure 1, the mean larvae body mass was higher in control sample than in dose 1, 2, and 3 of the drug. Throughout the experiment, it is stated that larvae with maximum weight was found in control sample, whereas larvae with minimum weight was found in dose 3. Figure 2 shows a significant reduction of larvae mass in samples with diclofenac calcium doses during subsequent control weightings. The smallest larvae body mass before pupation in control sample is greater than those with doses of diclofenac calcium, especially in those 3. Larvae development rate can be seen in Figure 2 and Table 1. Larvae were only present in all experiment variants on the first, second and third dates of the weighing, which is day 4, day 7 and day 10 of development. On later dates, just a few of the experiment's variants had larvae. On day 10 of the developmental cycle, only 9 larvae were detected in the control sample since the remainder had become pupae. In drug dose 1, 2 and 3, however, larvae still predominated. On day 13 of the developmental cycle, neither the control sample nor the sample that had received drug dose 1 contained any larvae. The larvae were only present in the medication dose 3 on day 16 of development. For mortality of larvae, depending on the experimental variant, varying levels of larvae mortality were discovered during the experiment. A small number of larvae died in control, whereas those 3 had the highest larvae mortalities. This shows that the higher the dosage of the drug, the higher the number of mortalities of the larvae. In criminal investigations, forensic entomology is regarded as a key tool. The analysis of entomological material can also be used in forensic veterinary medicine, being one of the practical tools that enable procedural authorities and private persons to implement animal protection. Insects' length of growth cycle may be significantly impacted by xenobiotics in various ways. Some delay insect development and disrupt corpse colonization, while others reduce developmental processes compared to controls. Asikkov's entomotoxicological research on domestic pigs in 2018 shows clearly that toxicants have changed Chrysomia albiceps life cycle. This supports the validity of carrying out the aforementioned analysis to minimize PMI estimation errors.
According to the similar research, noted that analgesic drug may affect the growth of necrophagous insect. Some accelerate it and some delay it. For an example, O'Brien 2004 reported that in his study, paracetamol accelerated the growth rate of Calliphora vicina larvae from day 2 to day 4, while Burrell and Zhou stated that morphine and ketamine delays the growth cycle of Lucilia sericata based on their respective studies. From Akrakin, tramadol hydrochloride also delayed the growth cycle of Chrysomia albicep. In the study of diclofenac by Samsudin 2008, he stated that diclofenac delayed the development of Chrysomia megacephala. From this paper, we could see the effect of diclofenac calcium in delaying the larval development of Lucilia sericata. In the control group, the last larva was noted on day 10 from the oviposition, whereas in drug dose 2, larvae was still present on day 13 of the cycle, and in drug dose 3, even on day 16 of the development cycle. Thus, the study proved that the drug extended the growth cycle at the third larva install compared to the control group. It was also discovered that all doses of drug result in Lucilia sericata larval body mass reduction. It was partially connected with the slow development of the larva. It was supported by research from Samsudin 2018 and Oliveira 2009. The larva in Chrysomia megacephala grow on drug-containing substrate was shorter in comparison to the larva in control sample, and the body mass of the larva also reduced.
So in conclusion, all the doses of diclofenac calcium slowed the development of L. sericata. The relationship founded was the higher the diclofenac calcium doses, the slower the development of L. sericata. Next, it also resulted in the increase of mortality L. sericata larvae. The relationship founded was that the higher the diclofenac calcium dose, the higher the mortality of larvae. And lastly, it resulted in the L. sericata larvae body mass reduction. A reduction of the body mass and a longer than normal development of cycle of L. sericata may be of significance in correctly determining the time of death of humans or animals in cases of diclofenac overdoses.